And today we're going to spend some time talking about some of the darkest thoughts that a person can have, suicidal thoughts. And listen, before we go there, whether you've had these kinds of thoughts recently or never, today is for you, because we're going to spend some time understanding what to do, whether you're thinking about suicide or you have a friend who is. And listen, like I said before, every person has strange thoughts from time to time. Like every person I know has thought about what it would be like if they were dead. The first time you think about it, honestly, it super freaks you out. But the 1,000th time, the 1,000,000th time, it starts to seem kind of normal. And that's what's so scary when it comes to suicide. The people who do it have become comfortable with the idea of being dead. I mean, they didn't start thinking about it the day they seriously considered taking their life. Most of the time, it's something they've been thinking about and processing for a long time. And as time went on and as nothing interrupted their thinking, it just became more and more normal. And once that person gets used to the idea that the world would move on without them, or even worse, that it might be a better place without them, things start to feel hopeless. And I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, what hope could any of us hang on to if the thought of us being dead and gone seemed like it would make the world a better place? And for some people, believing they should die when they feel depressed or discouraged is normal. There's nothing unusual about it when they've been thinking about it over and over and over. Give any thought time and repetition in an isolated brain, and eventually it'll become comfortable there. And if someone isn't careful, a thought as crazy as "I should take my own life" can feel surprisingly rational and normal. But here's what you need to know. It's not rational. It may be normal to have that thought every once in a while, but it is not rational to let it go that far. And maybe that's you. And nobody around you knows it. And maybe you've never even realized that thinking about it has started to feel normal to you. But if you were honest, you'd admit that the idea has been popping up in your brain more and more. And it just doesn't seem as crazy as it once did. In fact, hearing me say that may not even scare you all that much. And if that's you, or if you know somebody else who's normalized this kind of thinking, I need you to listen carefully to what we're talking about today. What you hear in the next few minutes could be helpful in saving your own life or saving the life of somebody you really care about. You see, when somebody's considering suicide, it means that there's some stuff that they've forgotten about themselves, or maybe they never knew those things about themselves in the first place. Here's what I mean. Most people who consider suicide think something like this. They can't imagine contributing anything worthwhile to the world, or they've convinced themselves that the solution is to be gone forever, or nothing they've done has convinced them otherwise, and the pain just starts to feel constant. In other words, they can't see that their life has any value, and they feel valueless and worthless, even when everyone around them knows that's not true. See, everybody around them may be able to see the worth that they have, but they can't see it. And that's what makes suicidal thoughts really tricky. If I were to talk about this in the language that the Bible uses, I would say that someone dealing with suicidal thoughts has been robbed of their ability to see their own worth and value. And here's what I mean. In the book of John in the New Testament, Jesus said this: "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy." See, the thief that Jesus mentions does something really specific. He steals our joy, he kills our hope, and he destroys the life that God gave us. And if this goes on for too long, without interruption, without anybody stopping it, the thief can steal a lot. In fact, you or somebody you know may even feel like you're caught in a trap. Like you can't imagine the pain ever stopping, or you can't imagine ever feeling happy again, or you're trapped and you just can't imagine living a life that makes a difference in the world. And maybe the inner conversation sounds like this: "See, all I need to do is just kill myself and my pain will be over, or I won't be a burden to other people." And if that thought makes sense to you, it means your joy and your hope and your value have been taken away from you. Your problems start to feel forever. So killing yourself now seems like an option that suddenly makes sense. I mean, think of it this way. When we can't see the truth, lies start to make sense. We start to follow the lies. We start to do what they say. We let them lead us. And that's a problem because they're lies. And when we believe them and we act on them, we can end up losing out big time. Today, I want you to hear the truth. And this is truth that absolutely combats the lies. See, Jesus continues his statement in John chapter 10. He says, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." Think about it. Jesus wants you to have life, and that's the truth. Jesus, who was present at the creation of the entire world, wants you to live. Jesus places enormous value on your life, and life is what he wants for you. And anything else, any message different from that, is a lie that can steal from you and kill you or destroy you. But even better, Jesus doesn't just want you to have a life. He wants you to have a full life. He wants you to have more than enough. He wants you to have life that overflows. He wants you to have a life that is so remarkable and full that it's uncommon. A life that people look at and it makes them wonder, wow, that's amazing. What makes your life so different? However, if you believe that you don't have worth, you're believing a lie and you can't live that full life. If you believe that the world is better off without you, your value gets stolen from you and you aren't living a full life. If you believe that the pain you feel is never gonna feel any different, that's not the truth. If the difficulty of life seems like it will always be too much to handle, that's not true. That's a lie. And if you believe that no one will ever totally understand you or what you're going through, that's a lie too, because Jesus does. Your lies may feel true, but that doesn't mean they are true. It's not what Jesus has in store for you. Jesus came to give you back what the lies have tried to steal. He wants to give you a full life, one that's better than anything you could ask or imagine. So, don't let lies steal your life. Now listen, does this mean you're never gonna hear lies again? You're never gonna have weird thoughts or strange thoughts again? Probably not. But you don't have to give them any power. Listen, you don't have to replay them over and over in your mind, and you definitely don't have to do what they say. You can choose to replay things that are true instead. In fact, maybe one of these truths is something that you need to choose and believe. Here's one: you're a big deal. You matter. Or what about your life is important even if you don't think it is? Here's another truth: you're not alone even if you think you are. You have something to contribute to the world, and you make the world a better place. What others have said about you does not define your value. God defines your value. Or what about this truth? God gave you value when he thought you up and created you. Or here's one: you can get through this even if it feels like you can't. And while you're at it, here are a few more truths from yours truly, not necessarily from the Bible. Whatever trouble you're facing right now, it's gonna eventually fade. It doesn't mean it's not important, but it will fade. There will be better days, even if your brain is telling you that can't possibly happen. Listen, here's a real truth. High school's not gonna last forever. You won't always have a broken heart. You won't always feel this embarrassed, and eventually you will make friends. Every negative thing you are facing is temporary, even if it feels permanent. So remember, that's why it's so important to make sure we don't let lies lead us. A lie may tell you that this lasts forever, you're always gonna feel that way, but you guys, it's still a lie. And I wish we could physically take those lies out of our mind and replace them with true things. I wish you could flip a switch and just make the lies easy to spot and the truths easy to follow. I wish it was easy. I wish it was a one-time decision, but it's just not. And just like it took a long time for lies to become normal thinking, it might take a long time for truth to become normal thinking too. So start now. Start speaking and repeating truth now so you can live a fuller life sooner. And for all of us, there's something we can do right now, like today, right now. And that's we can start talking. If you've been having suicidal thoughts, I want you to start talking to an adult today before you leave. It can be your small group leader, it can be your parent, but it needs to be today. And I know your mind is already giving you all the reasons you shouldn't do that, you can't do that, it's not that big a deal. Don't let those lies lead you. You can talk to an adult, and the truth is, they're not gonna be mad at you. They're not gonna be freaked out or disappointed. They may even look at you and say, listen, I get it. I've been there. And if the thought of talking to an adult makes you feel really nervous, grab a friend to go with you. Now listen, here's what I would be thinking sitting in your seat. I would be telling myself to downplay those thoughts. I'd tell myself it's not that bad. I don't have that thought that often. I shouldn't even say anything. Guys, please don't kid yourself. It's time to talk to somebody. You are too important to fight this battle alone. And for those of us who aren't struggling with suicidal thoughts, we can start talking to those who do. We can encourage them to get help. We can talk to an adult for them and get them connected with people who can help them begin to take back what's been stolen from them. You can also ask them some really important questions like, hey, are you having thoughts of killing yourself? Be sure to ask it in a nice way, but also in a really direct way. You don't have to avoid using the word suicide. You can say that and reassure them that you're okay with the conversation no matter what their answer is. If they're willing to talk about it, then chances are good they're seriously considering it, and your conversation is a big deal. If you don't know anybody who's struggling, you can choose to use your words to encourage people, to remind everybody of the truth that they have worth and value. Even if people aren't stuck in lies, reminding them of the truth is always a good thing. It never hurts. You can fill people up with encouraging truths that they can look back on later when they really need it. I mean, imagine this for a second. What if we chose to stop holding back our words of encouragement and started giving them out freely to everybody around us? What if we made it our goal to remind others of how valuable they are every time we possibly can? Now, I want to be really clear about something that's really important. Talking is a step, but it doesn't always fix suicidal thoughts. Encouragement is a big deal, but it doesn't always fix suicidal thoughts. And trying to unthink or unfocus on a suicidal thought is a good thing. It just doesn't always fix it. See, sometimes there is a mental or a chemical block that can keep you from hearing the truth and believing it. It's something you can't control and something you can't fix on your own, no matter how hard you try. And in the long run, you may need to talk to a counselor or you may need to talk to a doctor. And I want you to know that that's okay. It might be part of the solution. See, God uses counselors and doctors all the time to help us heal. And just like you go to a doctor when you're physically sick, sometimes we need to see somebody who can help us get our minds and our brains healthy. See, God has a full life in mind for you. And if getting to that full life means talking to a professional, that's totally okay. And maybe the first step to doing that is talking to your small group leader or your parents today. See, when you decide you want to experience the full life Jesus talks about, it's going to be a journey to get there. And it may feel like one step forward and two steps back. It may feel like it takes some time, and the process might sting a little bit at times. It may require you to share some things that you've never really talked about before, may even talk to some people you've never talked to before about it. And listen, no matter what steps are ahead, the first one is one you can take today by talking to somebody who can help you. And listen, here's what's great about that. Once you talk to your small group leader or once you talk to your parents, you never have to have that conversation alone again. They will be with you to go with you to whatever steps are next. See, today's the beginning of an ongoing conversation. There's so much more to discuss and learn, and there's way more to this topic than we've even been able to cover today. And if after today you found you have more questions, that's okay. Go talk to your small group leader or talk to your youth pastor or talk to a parent or a teacher, but find an adult that you trust and talk about it, because this isn't one of those topics that you need to keep to yourself. And whether that feels true or whether it doesn't feel true, I want you to do something today. Tell somebody if the thought of you being gone has started to feel normal. Because the adults around you, your friends around you, your small group around you, they love you right where you are, but they don't want you to be there alone.